Okay, what you call a fee is a fee, and a fee is a tax. Reduce the fees. How many people that come into that courtroom there that get penalized with exorbitant court costs? Some of them can't even afford it. Some of them take years to pay it back. But we jack up the fees. We got one council person over here who wants to raise the water bills on businesses. Scott Stevens. Got another council person that was talking about a 2% tax for the DDA to make costs. You know, these are two items that will deter people from coming into the city and occupying those empty industrial buildings and stores and what have you. The emphasis is too much on protecting that 83%. Is anybody going to start cutting these salaries or these benefits to where they should be? It's election time. And every one of you will go to these unions in this municipal era and say, hey, how about supporting me? And they'll say, okay, what you going to do for me? Well, instead of being 83%, knock it up to 90%. Our gasoline is going up. We need more money. Where is the emphasis is to bring the cost back to where realistic should be, and it should be on a level field with the private sector. There's people are hurting out there. $4 a gallon for gas. Some people have to burn 2-3 gallons of gas every day to go to work. And there's no end to it. With this, I'm going to read something to you people. And I'll conclude. The governor shall have power, and it shall be his duty to inquire into the condition and administration of any public office and the acts of any public officer, elective or appointive. He may remove or suspend from office for gross negligence of duty, or for corrupt conduct in office, or for any other malfeasance or misfeasance. Malfeasance, I wrote this down for Bacamino and Scott Stevens, is performance of a lawful action in an unlawful manner. Performance of a lawful action in an unlawful manner. Vote on the redistricting commissioners. Malfeasance, misconduct by a public official. The burden is upon you people to protect our dollar, not take care of the administration and the public workers. Remember that. Election time is coming. Thank you.
Anyone else care to comment? Good evening.
Good evening, Council. The budget, $1.7 million. Maybe we can get a good sound system.
What's your name?
And a computer. My name is Joseph Hunt, and I live at 8306 Stanley. I'm a candidate for mayor this year. I was at the budget meeting, and I went through all of the different notes, and I would gladly take GOD up on the video. I'll talk to you later. Primarily, there's a lot of things in the budget that need to be ironed out. I guess where the priorities lie and why the city is spending money, but not going into creating money on its own. The main area that I look at is the way that the departments are being run, the departments and the divisions, and I'll take them in order. Basically, on day one, There's the public service director, and a lot of different divisions report to him, but I'm not too certain exactly why we would have to have that particular job for next year's budget. When it comes down to DPW, they do a good job. Building maintenance, they also do a good job. They've raised the fees, so anybody that comes into the city to buy a house is going to have to spend more in the fees themselves. As far as sanitation is concerned, this is a special revenue fund, but the one thing that I'm sort of surprised about is that these new trucks are actually breaking up the streets. I live on a school bus route, Stanley, and the street was bad before, but now it's even crumbling like a graham cracker. When it comes down to street lighting, I don't know why we have all these lights on at night. If we were to shut down maybe 2 out of every 3 in the evening, we wouldn't be spending $3 million. When it comes to engineering, we're really going through and repairing the roads. Is this working? Can you hear me? When we're going through, anytime the federal and state dollars come in, we're matching those funds, but at the same time, it would seem to me that we're spending a lot of engineering time in fixing the infrastructure of the main roads and not really looking into the neighborhoods. I mean, especially if you go down Helmich Park and you go out onto Chicago Road, there's this big pothole. Actually, it's not a pothole, it's a sinkhole. And you can call up engineering, but the idea is there has to be something done about it now. I mean, it's on the north side of Helmich Park out at Chicago. With the Michigan Transportation Funds, I think they could be used a little bit better. And with property maintenance, the one thing that I'm looking at is that there's 5,500 vacated houses, and I'm really interested in finding out who owns these houses. Are they going to come back? Are they foreclosed? And I'd really like to put in a FOIA to find out exactly who are these houses, what neighborhoods are they in, what are the sections of the city. With property maintenance, if you go down to 8 and Van Dyke, the first block north, and the whole entire house or street is lined up with paper hanging out, it's really, the city's creating its own blight. Even though property maintenance is doing due diligence, as far as, according to law, we could do things a little bit differently as far as selling the houses. With the communications department, that comes off of fees, and quite simply put, I'm talking into this and I actually can't even hear myself, and I was going to bring up my laptop, but I can't interface and talk at the same time. So something has to be done about the presentation here. But at the end of day one, I came up with the conclusion that it's up to the council to actually oversee the funds of the city. On day two, of course, the mayor, he presented his presentation, and Mr. List, after 20 minutes, the mayor we had to take a recess, and he came back and he really didn't answer the questions like I'd like to see. Of course, when I see Jody's tape, I'll be able to relive it live. As far as the clerk, Paul's doing a good job. I like his people. The main thing is his objective is that he's going to promote voter turnout, and I'd like to find out exactly how that would take place. Treasurer, they're doing a fine job. In fact, it was the only portion of the budget where they didn't go through, the mayor's recommendation wasn't changed from the treasurer's budget. With the 37th District Court, that's unfortunate that...
Mr. Hunt, I'm sorry, if you take your one step away, it won't pop on the microphone.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, give me a break, $1.7 million, and it's almost like everybody tonight had to actually go, you're going forward, we're going backwards, and we have this right here. I can't even interface with the system, which is completely amazing. I could have had a presentation, but instead I'm like going back and forth. Thank you. But 37th District Court, Judge Schumer saved up a lot of money for the court. If anybody goes over there like I have, it's very interesting because you could take somebody from City Hall, drive them around blindfolded, and take them into the courtroom and say, what city are you in? And then they'd say, I don't know. It'd be like Warren, Michigan. I'm right next door. The thing, it's not modernized. But to take the $4 million to balance the fund, especially because these vacated positions were not filled, and then all of a sudden we're balancing the budget by not filling these positions. With the police and fire department, I like the guys, but however, because this is 63% of the tax dollars, I'd like to find out where I can get more information as far as the actual cost, you know, the grants, how they go about obtaining the grants. And one thing that disturbs me is that every time I look up in the backup material that you have that the council office presents up on the website is that they're spending a lot of money on plain clothes. I mean, especially the guys that have just retired under age of 50, they're spending $600, $700 on plain clothes, and I have to ask myself, how plain are those clothes? With police and fire, I'd really like, as a citizen, to be able to look into that a little bit more before and comment on that particular area. With the library is great. One thing I can suggest is that, you know, they have cash registers and they have the area. I don't know why we don't have like merchandising. There's really nothing inside of the budget that talks about advertising and merchandising of the city of Warren. They have the space, they have the cash registers, where the coffee mugs, t-shirts, anything related to Warren, they could sell them there and there'd be revenue for the city. I mean, it seems to me that there's a lot of ways to generate revenue, but here we're talking about going into savings. I mean, particularly with the sanitation, those big trucks are ripping up the roads. And now the engineering objective is to, in some way, pass a millage in order for the taxpayers to fix these roads that the city is currently right now destroying. That's my street, it's a bus route, and I thought it was bad before. It's really bad now. You can go down Stanley, you can see it. It's right 12 in Van Dyke. At the end of the day, too, it's still up to the council to oversee the funds of the city. Basically, Parks and Rec, I'd really like to be able to go into the community center or Owen Jacks and be able to enjoy the facilities at a time that's convenient for me. Even in the pool room right now, I can't go in there in the morning because it's senior time. And it seems to me that with the smart bus, it's senior bus. I mean, the deal is that I haven't seen where we even have a bus that goes between City Hall and the community center, let alone bringing up people from the south end of the city. They can take the Van Dyke bus line, but once they get to City Hall, there's not really any public meetings to go around, and that can be something that we could put into place right away. As far as the controller, I like Rob. He's actually, the backup material today was very, very precise as far as percent of budget. With the information systems, this is the thing that gets me. There are 3 people in information systems and there are 5 people in the communications department, but that should be really looked at because the idea is that I can't even buy airtime on TV as far as, I'd like to buy airtime because I'm a candidate, but there's not really a policy in place. I mean, there's different rules under the federal time rule, but if somebody wanted to come into the city and use the government, education, and public access channels, there should be at least something there that says we can do it for you instead of all of these high quality shows that have no interest to me. With the city attorney, I got a lot of FOIAs, but I'd rather ask the questions to people and get the responses from them as opposed to downloading your system. Primarily, you're understaffed. If you can hire people, that would help out with the legalities of the city. Assessing, that's fine. I have nothing against the assessing department. Human resources, I mean, the unions are here. They were there at the meeting. And long story short is that we have to have revenue in the city. In order for people not to lose their job, we have to have revenue. We can't have this continue keeping people out. With the Community Economic Development and Downtown Development Authority, that's sort of like the key to the future. The idea is that in order to develop the community, we have to know exactly what we have, how to get rid of it, how to sell the city-owned property. And with the DDA, you know, back 10 years ago, we were a city of progress, and it seems like when the current mayor came in, we really stopped doing that type of thing. I've looked at all of the DDA stuff. It was unfortunate that Mr. Brown could not be in on Monday to describe the DDA. Going through other